the British German Association. Welcome to what promises to be a really special conversation about football, culture, and the connections between Britain and Germany through the game you all love.
So the British German Association has long been about bringing people together through shared interests, ideas, and dialogue. And this interview feels like a perfect example of that. We're especially excited because we have two fantastic guests joining us for a conversation that brings together journalism, professional football, and the unique relationship between German and English football.
Our first guest is Ben McFadyean, an established British football journalist, presenter, translator, and academic who specializes in German football and the Bundesliga. Ben is widely recognized as one of the leading English-speaking experts on German football, culture, the Bundesliga, and clubs such as Borussia Dortmund. He writes for publications including 442, World Soccer Magazine, Gulf News, Ruhr Nachrichten, and Flashcore.de. And many of you may know him also as the host of the Borussia Dortmund Fan Club London podcast. So we are really delighted to have him with us this evening.
And joining Ben in conversation is Max Ehmer, a German professional footballer and club captain of Ebbsfleet United. Originally from Frankfurt, Max came through the Queen's Park Rangers Academy, signing his first professional contract in 2009 and going on to build an extraordinary career in English football. Commanding centre-back, Max has made nearly 600 senior appearances across English football, representing clubs including Preston North End, Bristol Rovers, and Carlisle United. And this season, he reached a remarkable milestone by surpassing the long-standing appearance record for a German player in English football, previously held since 1964 by Bert Trautmann.
So we are incredibly pleased to welcome those two people with very different but brilliantly complementary perspectives on football.
A very warm welcome to Ben McFadyean and Max Ehmer. Now over to you.
Thank you.
Max, how are you doing? It's so great to see you.
Yeah, I'm all good. Yourself?
Fantastic. So we met at Salisbury a few months back, and I mistakenly thought that was your game when you surpassed the legendary Bert Trautmann, but I think I kind of surprised you a bit.
Yeah, you did, yeah. Obviously, you don't meet loads of German people within England as it is, but especially at football games and stuff. But yeah, I think that was we were 1-0 up in the last minute and we conceded. And then I came outside and I saw you, we had a chat. Yeah, it was nice.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for doing the interview where we're going to look at the Germany national team and talk about your career and also the symbolism and meaning of Bert Trautmann as well for German football. For English football, I should say, as well as being the German that until you came along held the record as the German player with the most appearances. So firstly, what does that mean to you, really, the fact that you're the German player with the most appearances, more than many, many great German players that have played here in England? I mean, you've played all the way through from Queen's Park Rangers in the Championship all the way down to Ebbsfleet United most recently, and National South. And I mean, you've really had a phenomenal experience and incredible commitment. 600 appearances is quite an achievement for any player, let alone a player from another country in England.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't actually know that I'd broken that record or anything like that. It never really crossed my mind. I think when you're in football, it's like obviously the season's 8-9 months, whatever it is, and it's just game after game after game. So you might hear about these things time to time, like especially for me when I was at Gillingham. Obviously, I was all-time sixth all-time appearance maker, but along the way, honestly, I couldn't I obviously surpassed a lot of people on the way, but I didn't really know about it until I kind of got to the top 10, and it was you're 10 games away from this guy, etc., etc. And then obviously by the time I'd left, I was sick. But yeah, no, it's nice. It's an honor, obviously, because I'd imagine there's been a lot of German players, maybe not loads and loads, but there's been enough German players within English football. So to break that record it's an achievement and I'm proud of it. But there's been a lot of people that have helped me along the way. So I'm just grateful to everyone really that's helped me along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, there's been a lot of great players, not least Robert Hoot, for example, who played for Chelsea, who made 322 appearances, and very, very impressive player. Middlesbrough, Stoke City, Leicester City. Didi Harman, of course, Liverpool and Newcastle legend. And also, most recently, the only guy who could possibly catch you at the moment would probably be Pascal Gross at Brighton Hove and Albion. And he's in 300 appearances. So I think it's going to be difficult to catch you for now.
Yeah. Like you said, you've named obviously some Premier League boys there. All had great careers. So yeah, to be sitting top of that list is an achievement, like I said before. And yeah, hopefully there's more German players to come through and try and break my record.
Max, in your career, you've played for some great clubs, and you've also played with some very well-known players. It would be lovely to have some anecdotes. You played with Rio. Well, you've been part of the QPR squad with a young Rio Ferdinand, Park Ji-sung, Sean Wright-Phillips, big names in English football. I also noted Raheem Sterling. Do you have any recollections of some of these guys?
Yeah, so obviously Rio came towards the end of his career. But that team, that season, it was filled with serious players. So they had Julio Cesar, obviously Brazilian goalkeeper. There was Sean Wright-Phillips, Joey Bart, and Jabril Cisse. Just some of the names. Honestly, it was just name after name in that dressing room, and it was great to be a part of. Even though we didn't do well that season, I think I was on the bench a couple of times. In the Premier League, but I never actually came on in the Premier League. I was sat on the bench a lot, but actually never came on. So yeah, no, it was great. It was a learning. Learned a lot that season. And then Raheem Sterling, who I'm still close with now. Actually, I saw him not too long ago. We was together in the youth team at QPR when we was like, I can't remember what the ages were. I must have been in the under-18s, and he was a couple of years below. He would have been maybe 14, 15, scoring hat tricks in youth team games. So you could tell he was a star from that age. But yeah, like I said, still speak to him now. Saw him not too long ago because my son actually supports Chelsea. So he sorted out a kit for my son that's gone into his bedroom wall. So yeah, and really nice kid as well. Like I think he gets a lot of bad press as such when he generally is a really, really nice guy. So yeah, I have played with some really good players along the way, and it's been fun.
Absolutely, and you've also played against some top teams. I note looking through, you played against Middlesbrough, Leeds United, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Tottenham, Southampton. You must have some extraordinary memories of playing against basically the cream of the crop.
Yeah, obviously the Wolves one was not too long ago because we played them in a Carabao Cup game. Played Tottenham a couple of times. No, played Tottenham away in the old stadium. I was a really good. It's West Ham at home. Yeah, like you said, I was on the bench at Liverpool away for Jamie Carragher's last ever game. So yeah, it's been like a real like I said before, like a learning curve. But when you look back at it, when you're coming towards the end of your career, you really appreciate those. Even for a 90-minute game, you appreciate how fun and what a huge experience that was. Because obviously, some people wish for that to even become a footballer and then to experience those stadiums, sitting on the bench or on the pitch, whatever it is, whether it's a warm up or actually playing. Yeah, it was exciting at the time for sure.
Do you have a stadium which is your kind of favourite one that you've played at?
I didn't actually play. It was like I said, it was Liverpool away. It was last game of the season when we was in the Premier League with QPR. That one, just the atmosphere and everything was just incredible. That would be up there, but actually, funny enough, my favourite that we played at quite a lot in my career would be the Sheffield clubs, Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United. They're like, when they're bouncing those clubs. The stadium is rocking. So yeah, maybe Sheffield United. That's probably a Premier League stadium anyway, in terms of size and sort of how modern it is, etc. So I'd probably say that in terms of where I like properly played for a long period of time. Played there numerous times. Yeah.
Yeah, and Danny Roll, the German coach, was at Wednesday last
Wednesday.
season
Yeah.
as well, doing very well at Rangers as well
Yeah. He
now.
is, yeah.
You've played yourself with German players here in England. I looked up Sebastian Polter, Tony Leistner, Thomas Stuckmann at Preston North End. And you yourself, basically, I mean, there's two words that you associate with Max Ehmer. One is energetic and another one is German player. So how does it feel for you to be a German player here in England? And also, like, you have your family out in Germany, in Herxheim, in the Pfalz region, 140 kilometers from Frankfurt. As you mentioned offline, big Bayern fans. And how does it feel for you, like, to have one foot, very much similar to myself? I grew up in Dortmund 8 years and have been a Borussia Dortmund supporter all my life. I hope that you won't hold that against me.
No.
But how does it feel for you as basically someone from German background or associated with Germany? You mentioned before, so that you're a Germany fan, to be here in England. And have you always been able to make an easy connection with the German players when they were over here?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, I played with a few over the times, and straight away it's weird, but like I suppose it's probably the same as in like other countries. Whether if French boys were to come over here and there was another French player in the same team, you straight away sort of gravitate towards that person, and that's been the same at the clubs I've been to when I was when there was other German players there. Probably the most recent one was probably Torsten Stuckmann at Preston. Just straight away we got on well. Like, it was big goalie, was really good. But there's been some along the way. Sometimes they don't stay for too long and stuff like that. But yeah, no, you do end up becoming closer with that person just because of your nationality, as silly as that sounds. But yeah, no, I've enjoyed whenever there's been German players at clubs. I could probably count on both my hands how many I've come across in terms of the same team as me. But yeah, no, I've enjoyed it.
Max, over the years, you've played a number of games in Germany against Bayern, against Rot-Weiss Essen, friendly matches overseas. I also note that you've played in your youth against Inter Milan and other top teams. Yeah. Basically, it's kind of, as you were saying about your son earlier, it's every boy's dream to be a professional footballer. Is it really every boy's dream?
It seems to be that way, yeah. I mean, it certainly was mine. It certainly is my son's. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously it is a very small percentage in terms of the amount of people that go on to actually become a professional. And then I think the stats to stay in the game, I can't remember what the exact stat is, but something like to stay a professional 5 years after you turn professional is even lower than that. So actually staying in the game is very, very hard. And that's what I always say to my son, to be honest. Like, if you want to become a professional footballer, fine. Like, it might happen, it might not. But then to actually stay in the game is another thing. And then obviously to try and make it a full-blown career as such, in terms of make it a 14, 15-year career is hard work. There's a lot of sacrifices that had to be made along the way. But I've enjoyed every minute of it. But then you've also, when you're coming towards the end, or even early in your career, I wish I'd probably done it earlier. You sort of have one eye, not to distract you, but one eye on the future after football. That's always important. Or a side thing, like many players have, whether that's business on the side, etc., etc. Definitely important to have that, because you don't want to be coming out of football and you literally have nothing.
Absolutely. A lot of the players I speak to spend less time on the terraces. Would you be somebody who might be tempted to go to the Südtribüne, the yellow wall in Dortmund, and watch a game?
To be honest, I'd love to. There are certain stadiums that I would love to actually go to once I finish. Obviously, my football season runs the same as all the football seasons, and you can't obviously get away on a Saturday or whatever it is. But that would be one of them. Bayern would be one. I've been to Real Madrid Stadium actually when I was younger. I would like to go to watch a Rangers Celtic game, just for atmosphere wise. So yeah, there's definitely a few stadiums that I would definitely like to go and visit, and Dortmund would be one of them with the yellow wall. Yeah.
Good man. Good to hear that. I love that. Max, German coaches do phenomenally well in English football. We'll talk about Jurgen Klopp, Danny Röhl, as I mentioned, Tonda Eckert at Southampton. What do you put that down to, basically? What is the kind of winning mentality, the USP that German coaches bring to English football? Why do you think they're so successful?
I just think it's the whole, I don't know whether it's been like a mindset through the generations. Obviously, with the national team, they've always been successful. I know the last couple of tournaments they've not been great or whatever, but as such, German football is looked upon in terms of national team for sure as one of the most successful, I'd say, up there with Italians and etc. I don't know. I think it's that structure. Obviously, the players' sort of upbringing through academies and stuff has always been strong. So I'd say it's probably the same with the coaches. Obviously, I've never really dived into the coaching side of things, but there's definitely a lot of good coaches out there. Obviously, the Brighton coach as well is doing really well, and he's young. He's really young. I think he's younger than me, actually. And so, yeah, they obviously know what they're doing in terms of the coaching side of things. And it doesn't surprise me that a lot of the good coaches, whether that's Premier League or lower, whatever it is, are successful being German, but being German for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Fabian Hürzeler, who was at St. Pauli before, and unfortunately, absolutely, that's right. So the mentality, and you've obviously played games in Germany, not a lot, but you have played some games in Germany, and you've played alongside German players. How would you? So for me personally, because I was brought up watching the Bundesliga, I actually really very much more enjoy watching German football. The way they play, the system, it's for me, it's Rasenschach. It's like chess on the pitch. Like you can see everything so systematic and so clear what's actually going on, and it's really ballet. I mean, for me, it's beautiful. And I find that the English game at times for me is too physical. I played as a left back myself, so not a dissimilar position to yourself, for 20 years, and I never made it to anything beyond the sort of amateur football. But what are the differences for you when you watch Bundesliga or you watch Germany national team compared to the English game? What can you see? What tendencies or trends or ways of playing, systems of playing, can you see that? How is it different for you?
I think it's like you said, really. I think it's very, very physical over here, whereas in the Bundesliga, I'd say it is more chess-like in terms of it's a bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? Obviously formations, but there's a lot more patterns of play and stuff like that. Whereas in the Premier League, at times with certain teams, it can be. Well, you take a look at Arsenal, who've won the league. I mean, they probably weren't in the top 10 for prettiest teams to watch this season, but they scored majority of their goals from corners, whether it was wide free kick or just being more physical than the other team. And football over here has gone that way a little bit in the last couple of years. Obviously, Man City changed it 6-7 years ago, or 10 years ago, whatever it was, when Pep came. But obviously that hasn't worked because they didn't win. They haven't won for the last 2 years now. I know they've come in second or whatever, but yeah, it definitely has got more physical, and I think it will change at some point. It's all these things change in football, whether it's 2-3 years of physicality, and then the next couple of years might be short passing again, or a certain style of play, whether that's wing play, whatever it is. But yeah, I think that probably is the main difference from when I watch it as well. It's a lot more chess-like over there, and tactical, opening teams up in certain ways. So yeah, no, definitely, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
I was interviewing Uwe Rosler, who you may remember played for Man City. He's now the coach at VfL Bochum for World Soccer Magazine a couple of weeks back. And he was saying that the Premier League now, there's too much money involved. It's not the league that he remembers from the 90s. When you look at the German system with the 50+1, where the clubs are fan-owned, member-owned, like how does that resonate with you in terms of, do you feel that maybe commercial aspects are given too high a priority compared to fan aspects, really, in English football?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, I don't dive too deep into the business side of it, but everything these days, especially over here, obviously with the amount of money it generates and stuff, is a lot of commercial and sponsorships and all of that. And that's how these clubs survive. If they're paying someone, I don't know what the numbers are, 400 grand a week in the Premier League, they need to recuperate that somehow, recoup that even. So yeah, you can see why they do it, but they also make a lot of money, but they're also dishing out a lot of money. So it works in both ways, really. Like, that's why it's probably the most viewed league in the world, because of the sort of the stars that they're bringing over. But then, like I said, it's not a great advert for the Premier League when you see Arsenal winning it, because they score so many corners every season, every game.
Yeah, absolutely. Not every German player has succeeded here in England. If you look at Bastian Schweinsteiger, for example, at Manchester United, there's a lot of doubts about Nick Woltemade at Newcastle United. Flo Wirtz seems to be getting his mojo, but it hasn't always worked out for German players in England. Timo Werner is another one who's now in America. Yeah. Why do you think that some German players can't really find their flow here? If you think back to some of the guys you've met along the way yourself.
I don't know. Maybe the physicality side of it. I think obviously Timo Werner's probably wasn't physically massive, same as Florian Wirtz. Boltomado's tall but skinny, but I'd still fancy, obviously, them boys are still in their first season. So I think it takes time. It's new country, new surroundings, everything like that. I mean, it would be tough, I think, for an English player to go over there. I know Harry Kane's probably an exception, but I think you're coming into probably potentially the hardest league in the world, and you've got to deal with all these aspects in terms of living abroad. It's not easy. Even for me, I'm lucky enough I didn't really have it in my career, but if you've got to move up north, let's say, it's a daunting thing, because you're moving away from home. Home is your home. That doesn't change. So I think it's probably those aspects that will affect it a little bit. But I would still say that, especially Florian Wirtz, I think he's a great player, and I think given time, I think he'll eventually become really good. I don't think you become a bad player overnight.
So German teams have won 22 European Cups. We've seen in the last week. We've got Arsenal this weekend against PSG in the Champions League final. We've seen Crystal Palace last night winning the conference, similar to Chelsea and West Ham the years before that. And the Europa League, Freiburg got taken out by Aston Villa in the final. Yeah. Do you think that having cheap prices, the average ticket price in Germany is about £20 compared to about £40 in England? Do you think that fan-owned clubs and cheap ticket prices is a price worth paying for having a bit less success?
It's a hard one, really, because obviously the ticket prices generate more income for the clubs. I know, yeah, it's a hard one, really. I think I wouldn't go too deep in that personally, just because I wouldn't know enough about it. But I think what German football is doing in terms of making the game affordable to go and watch is a massive thing. I think you wouldn't want, I don't know, obviously Premier League is different because they sell out all their stadiums and stuff, but you want the game to be sort of affordable for all people. Do you know what I mean? Not just those that can afford, like, pay the higher prices, because at the end of the day, football's a working man sport, or working person sport, man and woman. So yeah, I think in an ideal world, ticket prices would be lower, but in the Premier League, especially with the clubs having to try and get some money back, I mean, it makes it tough for them to be charging £15-20 a ticket when they've got someone on the pitch who's on 400 grand a week, which is X amount of tickets that they'd have to sell just to get that money back.
Absolutely. You talked about the rigors of being a professional footballer. Obviously, you have to train multiple times a week. In the Premier League, you'll be training twice a day, potentially. How do you actually recover from that? I mean, it must take, it's quite a physical thing for you.
Yeah, no, it is. And I've always, to be fair, I've been lucky with my wife, where I used to always come home and I would sleep for like 1 or 2 hours, just because it's what your body needs. And I suppose when you get in the routine of it, you definitely need it. So I've always been like that, where I make sure I sleep after training. I think a lot of footballers do that, but you've got all the traditional sort of recovery methods, and those would be massages, ice baths, stretching, hot baths, all of that. And to be fair, I've done a lot of ice baths and stuff like that in my career, and I do find certain things help for some people and some don't. Like I was quite big on ice baths, whereas other players won't go in them. So yeah, everyone's different, like I said. But it's just, I think all these little percentages will help in the long run to staying in the game as such.
So in addition to beating Bert Trautmann's overall record, you also are in the top 6 most decorated players of Gillingham. I went to watch you play at Norwich City against Norwich City in Carrow Road a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And didn't have the chance to greet you, but yeah. So the Gills, talk a little bit about Priestfield and your experience and your special relationship with the club.
Yeah, I mean, I originally went there on loan from QPR, and I was there for like 3/4 of the season, and then ended up signing the following year. And yeah, it was great. I mean, just played a lot of games. Obviously, we was in League One for a long time, and then we got relegated about. I think I've done two years in League Two. 2 years in League Two. So the back end of my Gillingham career was in League Two. So yeah, I mean, we had a lot of good days. There was years where we were like, there was one time we were pushing to win the league. We ended up having a bad last 6 weeks, and we ended up dropping out the playoffs. Obviously, some bad seasons in terms of like staying up on the last day. So yeah, it was mixed. But my overall time there I loved every minute of it. It was a great club. Fans always support you. Get hostile at times, but that's the same as any other football club as such. But yeah, no, really good club. I loved it. Yeah.
Another legendary club you played for, which Tim Closer also played for, is Bristol Rovers. I absolutely love that half blue and half white shirt. It's absolutely classic. How good times down at Bristol?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get on with the manager towards the end. I had a bad shoulder injury, which I needed operation on, and it's a long story to get into. But really enjoyed it down there. To be honest, it was a bit of a weird season though, because it was the season where there was no fans, so we were playing in empty.
2021.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I played basically all the games, and then my shoulder needed operation. I ended up having my shoulder, and I went back to Gillingham in the summer anyway. Like I said, I fell out with the manager, but it was really good club, really nice training ground, everything. Obviously, I didn't get to experience it fully with no fans in the stadium, but you can tell it's a proper club. And my old manager, who I had at Gillingham, has actually gone in at Bristol Rovers now, Steve Evans. So I'm sure he'll do a really good job there.
Nice. We talked a little bit about fans just there, and I guess you could say that for the Bundesliga, fans are a big thing. The choreographies, even the pyros and so on, the remarkable singing, chanting throughout the whole games. As a player, how does it feel basically when the whole stand lights up like that? And
yeah, no, it's like that's what you play football for, to sort of entertain and play in front of big crowds or good atmospheres. So yeah, it definitely makes a difference to you. I think no disrespect to Ebbsfleet or whoever in terms of stadium wise, but like when you go to play at them Ebbsfleet stadiums or the games in Conference South, like you notice that the atmosphere is nowhere near as good as it has been in the previous however long I played. So yeah, you definitely notice it. And like I said, I've always been one that I love going to play at a big crowd. So yeah, loved it.
Yeah. So Max, not to put you on the spot, but German Bundesliga crowd versus English Premier League crowd?
It'd be a tight one. I'd say probably if I was to go from what I've seen, I'd probably go Dortmund probably being the best in terms of atmosphere to maybe a Liverpool on a Champions League night. I think that's a real close one. I don't think I'd split them two.
Nice, absolutely nice. Yeah. I've been to the Anfield for the quarterfinal of the Europa League. Klopp's first game there, and the "You Never Walk Alone" rendition was absolutely amazing. Amazing. Yeah. A question I always love to ask is, do you collect shirts from opponents?
I do actually. Yeah, I always have done. I've got a lot of shirts in my loft from players. I mean, funny you say it. My best friend, who's my son's godfather, plays for Luton now, but he's a Northern Irish international, and he played against Germany. I can't remember, start of this season, and he actually got me Florian Wirtz's shirt for my son. So that's one that's in the house, but that's technically not mine. But yeah, I've always swapped a lot of shirts, whether it's been players from when I played Swansea, when I played West Ham, Tottenham, I got shirts. Watford, I got Troy Deeney. Yeah, I've got loads. I think Sean Wright Phillips actually sorted me a shirt from Jerome Boateng years ago. So I got a Bayern shirt from him. Obviously, I didn't play against Bayern, but he got me a shirt, which I love. That's one of my favorite shirts. That's probably the favorite shirt I've got, because not growing up, but when I was however long ago, Jerome Boateng was my favorite defender to watch, especially for Germany. Yeah.
Absolutely. I had the pleasure of meeting Roberto Carlos last week.
Oh yeah.
That's another one right up there in terms of defending.
Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah.
You've got to be a bit of a nutter to be in the back line, haven't you? I mean, it is.
Yeah, no, totally.
It really does get pretty rough, but I couldn't have imagined myself anywhere else, to be frank.
Yeah.
Max, you've traveled between England and Germany, not so frequently, but obviously you keep in touch with your family in Germany. And what are your observations about Germany, how things are developing there? And what do you said that you support the Germany national team, and you must have cultural affinities in spite of having lived in England now for a long time. But how does it feel for you when you go back there and when you talk to your family over there? I mean, does it still feel like home, would you say?
I wouldn't say it feels like home, but it definitely feels like a second home as such. Obviously all my family still live there, so when I go back, it's all good to see them. And I just the silly things that I love from Germany, and I still probably not do it now, but I still have the German traditions in my house, and my kids love, whether that's salami or they like pretzels, Nutella, all of those silly things. Like me growing up, that is my childhood, and my kids are the same in that sense. They've definitely taken that sort of German food aspects of the culture. There's loads of things. Yeah, it is a second home as such. This is definitely my home, but I definitely look where in Herxheim, where I'm from, obviously, as my second home, and I wouldn't hesitate to go back to see them all. Obviously, it's been harder now. I've got kids and stuff. Them being in school, I can't just pop back as frequently as I used to. But yeah, no, I love it there. Yeah.
Yeah, Wurst is definitely a big thing in Germany. Bratwurst, etc. As you said, it's a very big thing. And it's lovely to have, like myself as well, to have that connection between two places. I mean, I'm very much a boy from the Ruhrpott, from the industrial west of Germany. I love the accent. I love the way people speak, the Redewendung and the different expressions that people use. And obviously being on the yellow wall, I'm over in Duisburg in a couple of weeks for a Legends tournament, and actually getting my boots on myself. So I'm really looking forward to that. The World Cup's coming up, Max. What's your view, basically, initially, of the lineup of and also Julian Nagelsmann? Are you as impressed as other people are? I mean, they've had some very bad tournaments in the last couple of years. At Russia 2018, Qatar 2022. Is Julian the right guy to take them forward, do you think?
Yeah, I think he is, to be honest. I would always be in favour of having a German person as the German national team coach. For me, it doesn't sit right with me. But for Tuchel to be German managing England, I don't know how I'd feel about that if I was an English fan. So for me, yeah, I think he's the best man for the job at the moment. And squad wise, I think it's been a little bit of a transitional period, because obviously there was a stage where certain players like Boateng, where they probably could have gone to the last World Cup or the Euros, I can't remember what it was, but they sort of went in a new direction, which I like in terms of, because they're getting the younger generation ready for the up and coming tournaments. And I still think, I'd say probably now, maybe the next tournament, whether that's the Euros or the next World Cup, I think they're still at the back end of that transitional period. Because there's a lot of, not names I don't know, but there's names of players in there who I haven't seen loads of, obviously being young or whatever else. But I mean, for certain players to be going at ages like that is just incredible, and what an experience. It's only going to help them in the future, whereas they could probably go and get a seasoned veteran player, and yes, it would be a great experience for them too, but they won't be like available to play in 4 years' time. So I definitely think it's the right thing in what they're doing. I'd say this World Cup, I don't think they win it. No, I think they, best for me, I'd love them to go and win it, get in the final, whatever else. But realistically, if they got to a semi-final-ish, depending on run, I think that'd be a success. With a view in the next World Cup, all these players being 4 years older, more experienced, blah, blah, blah. I think that would be, like I said, a success now. And I think going forward, I think it would definitely help them, and they'd be in a much more sort of stronger position come then.
Yeah. Just looking at the lineup, Manuel Neuer, Antonio Rudiger, Jonathan Tah, Maxi Mittelstädt, Joshua Kimmich. This would be an ideal lineup, in my opinion. Leon Goretzka from your Bayern team. Jamal Musiala, which I still regret not playing for England, frankly. Serge Gnabry, Nick Woltemade, Florian Wirtz. That looks like a potentially top lineup for Julian Nagelsmann's team. We'll come to the fixtures in a minute. What would be your initial thoughts or criticisms? What are the strengths and weaknesses?
It's tough. Like, obviously, like I said, it's still an inexperienced kind of team. With inexperience, you're going to get up and down performances. So that would be my only real criticism. I love watching all them players there. They're all great players, but I think, like any English fan would have said, I don't know, however many years ago, when they had Lampard, Gerrard, Paul Scholes, they had the best team by a country mile, but they couldn't get out of the groups at stages. So it's all good having the good players, but sometimes the best chemistry in teams and sort of formations for them players to make it work is the more important thing. And I think if we can get that right, I think the team have a great chance. I personally, for this tournament, wouldn't get my expectations too high, because I still think, like I said, it's a team that's sort of getting bedded in, and these things aren't overnight fixes. I think you need to definitely sort of be patient with that. And I think the German fans, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but they sort of understand that they're in that transition period. Maybe now they're probably starting to expect a bit more, but when you really look into it, I still think they're still at the very back end of it. And you can tell that by some of the ages of the players. I mean, hopefully they do well. But like I said, it's always a bit of a sort of a gamble as such.
Absolutely, I agree with you entirely. I think the expectation shouldn't be too high. Perhaps quarterfinal would be a good finish.
I mean, quarterfinal, I'd love to see them get through semis, etc. I think it's also a little bit of luck in terms of who you get. You could get a Brazil or France in the quarterfinals, or you could have an okay run and you could meet one of them teams in the final, and then before you know it, everyone's saying Germany's back. So as long as the performances are there and you can see in what sort of direction they're going, I think that's the most important for now, for sure.
Yeah. Matthias Sammer, a legendary defensive all-rounder, Ballon d'Or winner, great player of Germany, Borussia Dortmund, etc. An analyst now, and also advisor to Borussia Dortmund's board for several years, also working the sporting direction at Bayern München. I mean, his words count a lot in Germany. He said that a deutsche Tugenden fehlen. He means basically that there's a lack of kind of what's made Germany really ruthless, efficient, and and hard to beat in the past. An opinion I have is that maybe the traditional values in German football, they've failed in some ways in the last decade to be able to make the transition to a more faster paced kind of technical football, and along the way perhaps they've lost some of those qualities that the really great players over the decades have had, like Hans-Peter Briegel or Andreas Bremer, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, and so on. Some of the really hard-hitting, super athletic players that have played over the years. What do you see it that way? I mean, what do you feel has basically been the weakness? Perhaps a lack of clinical finishing up front, and maybe just not enough ruthlessness or not enough athleticism. I mean, is this basically, has it been a lost generation the past 10 years? Or is it basically just somehow there's something, just an X factor missing in the German team since they won the World Cup in 2014?
Yeah, I think you kind of said it there. I think there has been that sort of little bit of X factor missing. It comes down to a lot of things. Like sometimes the X factor can be sort of, it can be a big target man up front that can change a game in 5 minutes, or it can be that when Musiala's unbelievable, he's unbelievable. So yeah, I think people like that, you need them to come to the World Cup and be on form, same as Wirtz. I mean, he went to Liverpool for whatever the number was, 100 million, whatever it was. So that's now when I said about the transition period. Before, 4 years ago, he would have been however old. Now he's 4 years older. Like it's time to show us what you can do. And I think if these are, for me, both of them players there are the German X Factor players. So you'd want to see results in terms of goals, assists, and that's obviously what changes games. So hopefully they play well in the World Cup. You still got Rudiger, who's playing for Real Madrid, one of my favourite defenders to watch. They've got Jonathan Tah, they've got Manuel Neuer, who's arguably, for me, probably the best keeper still. So they've got serious players, but like I said before, it's like the England team of the past: Beckham, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes. They had all the names, but they didn't win a single thing, and sometimes they didn't get out of the group. So it's all good having all those X Factor sort of players. Like I said, it's just making sure that it all comes together at the right time in the World Cup, and hopefully they can produce.
Absolutely. Hopefully. First game is against Curacao, then at Houston. Then after that, they're playing against Cote d'Ivoire at Ivory Coast in Toronto.
Ivory Coast, yeah.
And then against, I think it's Ecuador in New York, the MetLife Stadium.
Right.
We have to put you on the spot, I'm afraid, and ask you for some tips for those games.
Well, I mean, a nation like Germany, that's not being disrespectful to anyone else, they should be winning all the three games. And to be honest, I haven't seen enough of Ivory Coast or Ecuador. For me, I don't know how they even think about not having 9 points come the end of that sort of group stage. So, I mean, that's fingers crossed. Obviously, it's always easier said than done, because that's team sheets on a bit of paper. But it's when it comes to the actual game, it's different. But for me, as a German fan, I think it should be 9 points, and I would be saying that they'll win all three and they're out. I think Ivory Coast can be a tough game because they're a good African side. Again, a team like Germany should be winning that.
Obviously, there'll be people watching who are interested in the England team. How far can England get, in your opinion? And also, who's going to win the World Cup for you?
I think England have been solid the last couple of years, but I think there was obviously, I don't know if it was the Euros when they lose to Croatia, was it? Was that the final?
Well, they've been in the Euro final twice, yes.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, if they couldn't win those tournaments, for me, I just think they didn't really have a better chance at that time or at any time to win it. And I'll always want to, not that I don't want England to do well, but you'd never want, as a German fan, you never want an English team to do better than the German national team. So I think they'll be solid, and they have been solid the last couple of years. I think with Tuchel in charge, I like it. I think some of his decision making with the squad was a bit odd. Some of the players that were left out, I didn't really agree with it. He obviously said he has his reasons. And in terms of
Palmer.
Well, Cole Palmer, there's been a few, Harry Maguire, again, I know you can say about age or whatever, but he's played in however many World Cups now, Euros, like that experience that he's going to bring is just going to be so vital to that squad. Even if he was on the bench or whatever, Luke Shaw, another one, has hardly missed a minute for Man United this year, and he doesn't go. One of the biggest teams in the Premier League. So I found it a bit odd, to be honest. But for me, the team that wins the World Cup is probably, I don't know, it's probably the bookies' favourites, but I would say France. I'd fancy France. Obviously, PSG in the final on Saturday. I think they've just got a lot of strong players at the moment, and this is sort of obviously they've been very good before in terms of generations, but this is another sort of golden generation that's sort of coming through now. So for me, but I mean, it could be wrong. I mean, it could be a lot of teams. I think Portugal will do well. They've got a lot of top players. So it's easier said than done, like I said.
Max, just at the end, you've been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much. I know that the viewers would love to win one of your shirts, and you kindly said that you would autograph a shirt for the fans, and that's really kind of you. Thank you so much. So a bit of a readers' competition, Max. What question would you like the fans to answer in order to win one of your signed shirts?
Oh, it's a hard one. You put me on the spot there. Let me think.
I've got one for you. You scored the winning goal against Hartlepool in 2013. How about what minute and what position were you playing?
Yeah, but it's a bit of a trick question, that one, from what I remember. It wasn't, because that game did go to extra time. It wasn't in extra time, was it?
Well, that's something for the fans to work out. I think we can go with that one.
Right, okay, yeah, perfect, yeah.
All right, nice one. Thank you so much. Been a wonderful guest. Finally, where can fans basically find you in terms of social media, keeping in touch with your career?
Just the usual, really. I'm on Twitter, Max Ehmer, Instagram, Max Ehmer again. Got a LinkedIn, which I'm not massive on at the moment, but I will be in the next sort of couple of months. And that's it, really. Just the usual social media spaces.
Fantastic, Max. Well, phenomenal career. And Dauerbrenner, as they say in Germany, like a Duracell bunny, just so much energy, vitality, and what you're above all famous for is leadership. And you've been captain of a number of teams, and well done. Fantastic career. Done Germany proud and done the Bundesliga. Well, I would love to see you play out a couple of years in Germany, whether it's Bundesliga, Dritte Liga, Zweite Bundesliga. I really hope that you take any opportunity you get to grace German football for a couple of years. And thank you so much. Great meeting you, great chatting with you. And for whatever it is that you go on to next, whether it's doing your UEFA Pro license and coaching, or whether you decide to do something in business, as you said, or continue playing for a few more seasons. Wish you the very best of luck, and thank you so much for supporting the show. And just fantastic. And we will let you know who to send the shirt to.
Perfect. No, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Great, Max. Thanks. All the best.
Thank you.
Enjoy the summer.
Thank you. Take care. See you later.